Thank you once again to Sayyid Haydar Jizani for his wonderful recitation of daily du'as. Assalamu alaikum dear viewers, and welcome once again to Hijab and Etiquette. Now today inshallah we are going to be discussing the topic of hijab and fashion. Now in recent years, fashion companies have made a real effort to try and get in touch with the Muslim woman, and also we've also seen a rise of hijabi YouTubers who have been giving viewers advice on like how to tie the scarf, how to do makeup, and how to put outfits together. Now some people would say that this idea of fashion is actually contradictory to the idea of hijab and what we should stand for with it. Joining me as always is my special guest, Masuma Jafar. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
I'm going to be very honest. I learnt how to tie the hijab from watching YouTube hijabis, and I used to sit there for hours and just watch these videos where they'd just be like, right, you get the scarf on your head like this, and then you do this fold, and then you do that, and I guess just what are the advantages and disadvantages of learning the hijab from these sisters on YouTube?
Okay, so one of the advantages is that if you don't know how to wear hijab, you've got somewhere to go.
It's a visual aid, yes.
Exactly. And I think that's important, especially if you're coming into the religion where you've never actually worn hijab before. You don't have anyone that you can actually ask. You're not. You haven't got sisters that you can turn to and ask them for help. I think secondly, it's really nice to normalize the hijab. I think a lot of young girls, when they wear hijab, or when they're told to wear hijab, or when the discussion of hijab comes up, it comes from a very religious perspective, and to them it seems like, they've got this idea of religion being very boring, and they'll have to then dress a certain way, give up all the fun, and not be able to do this and not be able to do that. So one of the pros of having these YouTubers is to sort of show them, hey, hang on a minute, you can still have fun, and you can do it this way, and you can do it that way, and you can change it around, and there's lots of different variations. You can put your own style to it. So again, you don't have to become an anonymous, which I think a lot of people youngsters are worried about, sort of losing their own identity within the hijab. So this allows them to keep that identity, makes them feel like they're normal, makes them feel like, they can still be fashionable. So I think there's lots of pros to it. It starts the journey off for some people who may not have considered hijab otherwise. But then, as always, there's also lots of disadvantages to it as well. So it may start your journey, but then that may be all that there is to the journey, and you may decide not to move on. So all hijab becomes is another fashion item to you, another way to look fashionable. So it's an accessory, like your handbag or your shoes, and
there's no meaning to it.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think it's a good start, but your journey should continue.
Yes.
A lot of people would say one of the disadvantages is that it's actually against the etiquette of hijab, the whole spirit behind the hijab, where it's supposed to be about not fashion. It's not about trying to make yourself look beautiful. It's not about trying to concentrate on the physical body, and that's what these people are doing. Some may say it actually encourages girls to go so much down the fashion line that it really makes no difference that they're wearing hijab, because it doesn't hide their beauty. It actually makes them sometimes look more beautiful.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So I think there are lots of advantages and disadvantages to it. I think as women, we need to understand why it is that we're wearing hijab. We need to link it back to our submission to Allah.
Yes.
We need to make sure that this is an ongoing journey. So even whatever hijab you're wearing, wherever you learnt it and however you're wearing it now is continuously growing. And you're becoming, you know, more, you're thinking and reflecting on your hijab on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. So it's getting better and better.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing we need to remember as well is that, you know, we don't have to dress up the hijab to please non-Muslims as such. Like, we don't have to start wearing a full face of makeup with it. We don't have to like start wearing high heels with our abayas and things like that. The hijab itself is perfect by itself, and we should just be happy with that. Now, another thing I've noticed as well is like international companies are now recognising Muslim women a lot more, and they are accommodating them. For example, not so long ago, Nike came out with the sports hijab, and then also another example, Dolce & Gabbana released a range of fashion abayas. Now, do you think this is just companies, you know, using Muslim women as a way of making money with no thought? Or should we be actually quite happy that these companies are recognising us in the first place and trying to make our lives a bit easier?
I think yes to both. Obviously, companies are there to make money.
Of course, yeah, they're businesses.
So, yes, of course.
And everyone needs to earn their daily bread, don't they?
Exactly. Yeah. So, you know, the fact that they're trying to make money from Muslims is not a bad thing. I think it's amazing that we've become such a force that they have to recognize us now.
Subhanallah.
I think that's beautiful.
Subhanallah. You know? When in the early days of Islam there was only like a handful of Muslims, and now look at us.
Yes.
MashaAllah.
Yeah. And the fact that they know that we are a force now,
yes,
you know, and that's beautiful. So I think that's really nice. And I think it does make life easier. So for those people who are sporty, this gives them a way to fulfill their desires of sport, but in a hijab perspective. So what they're doing is they're not telling you to take off your hijab. What they're saying is you can do everything with your hijab, which is what Islam says anyway. So they're actually promoting Islam, which is beautiful. And also, if you think about it from a business perspective, those people who are involved in the making of these hijabi clothes, or in abayas and whatever, who are non-Muslims, whether it be the fashion stylists, whether it be the advertisement people, you know, the publicity people, all of these people will be will sort of have questions about Islam, and again the conversations start. So it's a beautiful way of again doing da'wah, where, you know, people are doing things for money, but then there will be questions that come from that, and it's like, oh, okay, so why, you know, there must be so many women who are wearing these hijabs that we as a company, and a very big company, have decided to now look into providing for these people. Why do all these women wear hijab? And then it's, you know, the conversations start, and it's beautiful. So I think it works amazingly from all ends. I don't think it's something that we should resent as Muslims. I think we should actually be very proud that we've got these big named companies actually providing for us.
Recognising us and helping us out. I guess just like, I absolutely agree with you, by the way. I just love the fact that, you know, they are offering those services and products to us. Though I guess on the other hand, like, there is an issue with the fact that, you know, there are certain individuals, you know, they get involved with these brands. So for example, not so long ago, a well-known sister in the community, she appeared in a magazine which, to be fair, doesn't show the inappropriate images today as such, but that is what it is associated with. Like, how is that a problem as such?
I think there are certain things when their association is with something so un-Islamic, then we as Muslims need to step away from it. So I'll give you a simple example from a fiqh perspective. Playing cards. Because they're associated with gambling, even to have them to play snap is not allowed. Because of the association with these playing cards. Although you're not gambling with them, you're playing snap with them, but the association of these playing cards with gambling, and gambling is such a negative thing, and that is so haram, that fiqh-wise you're actually not even allowed to use them for playing snap.
So is that like the same reasoning with like how we shouldn't sit at a table where someone else is drinking alcohol?
Yes,
yeah,
because
okay.
again, you would be associated with that alcohol,
action, yeah,
although
okay.
you're not drinking it.
Okay, yeah.
Or even having a wine glass with Ribena in it. Again, associating yourself with something that is so un-Islamic, then you have no right to sit there and say, oh, people shouldn't judge me, because you've put yourself out there openly to being judged, because you're doing something that has such a strong association and such a strong link that you can't now sort of say, oh, don't, you know.
Subhanallah, like I'm a big fan of Schlur, and like I use a wine. Oh, I'm so sorry. Do you know? It's funny that you say that, because I do like wine glasses. I always have, and even though I don't drink alcohol now, I have on occasions drunk out of wine glasses. So I will bear that in mind for future, inshallah. I guess just another thing to do with this, you know, we're so quick to follow these fashion hijab Easters kind of thing, but it's like, I feel like almost we've lost our way in a way. I feel like we've lost our way, because at the end of the day, when our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa ali, when he made his sermon at Qadir, he said, "O people, I leave behind me two weighty things, thaqalain, Quran and Ahlul Bayt alayhim assalam." So it's like, and I've asked this question myself, you know, why are we using these hijabi YouTubers as our role models for hijab, for how we dress and how we act, when we have the Ahlul Bayt alayhim wassalam? Like, could it be just the fact, like, maybe we're intimidated by their perfection rather than feeling inspired by them as such?
I think there is. I think there's a lot in that. I think the minute you're told someone is infallible, then you feel like as a fallible human being, there's no way I'm going to get to that. So you do feel very intimidated, and you feel like, well, if I'm not going to get to there, what's the point? And I think that's really sad, because if you aim high, then even if you don't reach where you're aiming, you'll reach quite high. Whereas if you aim just to pass, you may end up failing. It's like my parents always used to tell me, don't aim for the 50%. Always aim for 100. Then even if you miss it, you'll still get 90 or 80. Whereas if you aim for 50, you may end up getting 40 or 30, and then you'll fail. So you should always aim higher, always, always. The other thing is, I think, as a community, we actually don't know the Ahlul Bayt. We don't have a relationship with them. These children get to know these YouTubers, so it's not just about the way they wear their hijab. When they're actually, if you watch these YouTubes, they actually talk about themselves and their lives, and you know what they're doing on a daily basis. So the children are actually connecting to them as human beings.
Yes.
And actually sort of seeing, oh, that's how I want my life, or this is what I want, and you know, so they're actually sort of building a relationship with these YouTubers, whereas we don't have that with the Ahlul Bayt. We don't encourage, even we ourselves don't know enough about the Ahlul Bayt to build that relationship, and we need to learn more about them, so we actually build a relationship with them, so that we can actually make them part of our lives, and then we can sort of say, oh, this is how they would have behaved, and this is how I want to behave.
But what's the best way of learning about the Ahlul Bayt alayhim wassalam? Is it just a case of us going to majalis every Thursday night? Like, how do we do it properly?
I think one is to actually read. There's so much out there about their lives. Reading is
the best. It
yeah,
really
I think a lot of what we get in the majalis are very factual information. So things like their birthdays, their death dates, and very small things. I think their words are really, really inspiring. You know, the hadiths that come from the Ahlul Bayt, you just think, wow, it's like, you know, you get to know them from their words. And that's really, really beautiful. And actually going to their shrines to do the ziyarah, to actually then build a connection with them through that physical movement towards their shrine, it really helps with building that relationship with them. Talking to them, you know, actually connecting to them and talking to them, and telling, you know, it's like, I know for me, whenever I have a problem as a wife or as a mother, whenever I'm having, you know, issues with my husband or my children, Bibi Fatima al-Islam is the one I will talk to. And I'll actually say to her, you know what, I don't know how you did it. You were the most amazing mother, the most amazing wife. Help me to be like that.
Subhanallah.
because I'm having difficulty here, and it really does help.
Yeah.
And she does help you, and it's
She
even
does.
something as simple as getting up for Fajr. You know, when I go to sleep at night, I'll tell Bibi Fatima alayhi salam, okay, I'm setting my alarm, but I'm expecting you to wake me up. And automatically your eyes open up. And when you know Bibi Fatima's helped you wake up, you can't help but get out of bed because you'd feel guilty just lying there.
Oh my goodness.
Whereas the alarm clock, you can put on the snooze and the snooze and the snooze again and again.
Yeah, when it's just like, no, I've she's watching me.
And she's gone to the trouble of waking me up. How can I not get out of bed now?
Absolutely. Like, you know, you think of, I always think of Lady al-Baneen. And when Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam, when he was leaving Medina to accompany Imam Hussein alayhi salam, when she turns to him and she goes to him, defend Abu Abdullah in Karbala and don't make me feel ashamed to stand in front of Fatima to Zahra on the Day of Judgment. Because she knows that pleasing Fatima to Zahra alayhi salam is pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Sure.
Now, we've discussed a lot of topics in this short discussion. Could you just please summarise what does it mean to be a hijabi and to, you know, our relationship with fashion?
Okay, I think the final message that I'd like to leave the viewers with is that your hijab should not be dictated by fashion. Fashion is not, is not the goal. Okay, it's a submission to Allah. That's the goal. Yes, make yourself look presentable. Yes, make yourself look nice, but don't follow fashion. Follow Allah. And I think that's the biggest message. And I think, there's nothing wrong with looking at YouTubers. There's nothing wrong with getting ideas, but don't make that your all.
Don't make it the priority.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Thank you so much as ever, Sister Masuma. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you, and may Lady Fatima alayha salam be pleased with your efforts as well, inshallah. So please stay tuned, dear viewers, because next up we're going to be answering your fiqh questions and queries, inshallah.